Morning, this is Dave T1963. This is going to be a different video, folks, and this is about the third take of it, so I'm going to try to keep this very passionate about this. Get rid of my gum. You know, there's so much craziness going on in the world right now, and I'm going to tell people, man, if you're getting your news from US, from Europe, from Australia, Mexico, Canada, if that's the only place you're getting your news from these days, man, I'd be very careful, because they are trying to deceive and manipulate. They're trying to create a lot of panic, fear mongering, and doing a whole lot of stuff right now to divide people. And I gotta be careful how emotional I get with all this, but there's so much going on that just don't add up, folks. You know, right now the big story is kind of that President Trump's tariffing this and doing all this and causing all this uproar. But folks, there's more to this than that. And here's what I'm going to say. For my entire lifetime, America has always been quoted as being the number one superpower, the world's strongest military, the biggest economy. And it's, for the most part, if we face reality, that's been true. And we have a lot of allies. And, you know, anytime you have different countries with different beliefs, you're going to have friction and stuff like that. But for the most part, we and our allies have gotten along well until recently. And here's what I'll say. Everyone right now is attacking Trump. And Trump's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. Trump is a man, and he's flawed, and he's not perfect. But let's stop for a minute and think about what's going on and why things are happening. Here's reality. This Ukrainian-Russian war, there's a lot more behind the scenes and history and all that, and I don't have time to go into all the history of who did what, who caused what. Both sides have been to blame. Both sides have broke promises, okay? But the net result, what do we see happening out of this war? Ukraine's not winning. They're losing land, okay? America and Europe and all of our allies, we're not getting stronger. We're getting more divided. Meanwhile, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea are getting more emboldened and are actually getting stronger as a group, forming new contracts with each other as far as energy and production and all that kind of stuff. That's the net result, folks. You can get tied up on who's doing what, who's provided the most, who's done this, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like I said, there's way more to this war. This war, I don't even think this war is about Ukraine, folks. I mean, up until 3 or 4 years ago, I'd say 99% of the entire world population couldn't even point to an unlabeled map of Eastern Europe and show you where Ukraine even is. All right? So there's more going on. Now, here's what I want to say to our allies. I realize you don't like Trump's approach. I got that. But here's what I'm going to say. If you honestly believe that America's been a good ally, that we've invested our time, people, blood, treasure into protecting people all around this world, if we've been one of the top humanitarian people, if we have not put bases in strategic places and armed them and manned them with our own blood, if we haven't come to your beckoning whenever you've needed America, I want to hear about it. Because I think we have. American military, in my entire 21 year as military and another 16 years as civil service, we've been spread throughout the world. We're not just involved in Europe. We're everywhere. We're in Africa. We're on the Pacific front. We're engaging people all around this world, good and bad. I am certainly not saying America in our history has been good, because we've done a lot of things that, if it came to the forefront, if we really knew what all our CIA got involved with, we'd be ashamed. But we've been a good ally. So here's my question. Do you really think it's on your best interest that America decline? I mean, think about it. You know that we've got this huge national debt. You know that. You know that America's been heading for a recession and that we've been declining. We're almost at the brink. We may not be in a civil war, but we're about as divided as a country can get before a civil war. And it's getting heated. People are not happy. You've watched natural disaster after natural disaster after natural disaster, all the way going back to Hurricane Helene back in New Orleans, devastate America. But I didn't see a whole lot of European countries or Canada or Mexico coming and helping us out in these situations. Yeah, you threw a little bit of money at it. I'm talking about putting boots on the ground and helping us. When you saw our borders being invaded by all these countries, and governments know who's being sent to America. They're not walking across South America. The world knows what was going on, that America was being invaded on purpose. And yet none of our allies, Mexico, you could have stood up and said, we're not going to allow this to happen to our number one ally in the world is right north of us. And we're not going to allow this influx of all these millions of people to swarm America. Same with you, Canada. And you know, Canada, your PMs lied. Spreading this rumor that only a small percentage of fentanyl is coming across the northern border. No, because Canada's not even inspecting 1% of all the shipments coming in the west coast. We have no idea how much fentanyl is coming across the Canadian-U.S. border. We have no idea. What we do know is, of that small, less than 1% that's inspected, a small percentage of that has had fentanyl coming across the American border. That's what we know. You're being dishonest. Your PM is being dishonest. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of Americans are being killed by this drug. And you have a way to help your ally to the south out. You had a way of keeping all this influx of illegal immigrants from coming through your country. They didn't want to stay in Canada. They wanted to get to America, and you allowed it. You could have stopped it. The tariffs. Europe, Australia, Japan, India, Mexico, Canada, nearly everyone we do business with. You saw for the last 10, 20 years, America declining in this unfathomable national debt that you know we couldn't sustain. Which one of you reached out and said, you know what, America, we're going to drop all the tariffs. We want to buy more of your products. We want you to come into our country. We want you to flourish as our ally because we know how important you are as a strong ally. How many of you did that? No one. And then you get mad when we finally have a leader that says, we cannot sustain this national debt. We can't continue to do business the way we're doing, or we're going to be bankrupt. We will go into a recession, and we will not be the strong ally that so many depend on. Now, the way he said it may not have been the prettiest way. I get that. But take responsibility for your side. You could have seen what's going on. You knew what's going on. Your government knew what was going on with trade. You could have stepped up and said, we're going to give you more, America. We want to pull you out of this. We don't want your people so desperate that we're selling all of our farmland to China. Folks, there's more going on here. And the bottom line is open your eyes. Is America and our allies getting stronger? You know what? I see all these European nations now jumping together and say, we're going to help Ukraine and we're going to beef up our military. My question is, why didn't you do that over the last 20 years? You joined NATO the same as America. America has been far carrying the burden of the NATO expenses around the globe. Meanwhile, most countries in NATO weren't even living up to their meager 2% of their GNP. Many still aren't to this day. You could have very easily been building up Europe to where it would have been impossible for Russia to go into Ukraine because Europe actually posed a threat. But the reality was you ignored it. America will carry the burden. We can count on America, America, America. America needs help. We just lived under 4 years of the worst leadership a country can ever have that flooded our borders. We've got so much crime in our cities right now, it's crazy. We got a drug problem that's killing hundreds of thousands. We're like I said, we're so divided right now. Our men don't even know what it means to be a man anymore. Our schools have been infiltrated. We have a lot of work to do to make America great again, to make it strong again, to make it the ally you can count on. But we needed help. And I realize every country has their own problems. But you left America to struggle on its own. You did nothing to come in and help America when we were having our problems. And even to this day right now, you could be a good ally and say, we're going to have free trade. Instead of buying Russian gas, why weren't you buying American gas? I'm telling you, if we don't get our heads together and see that this is much deeper than a few countries doing this and that, that there is something very wrong, dark and sinister in this world going on. It's tearing apart the strong coalition of people that used to stand for what's right. People that knew what it meant to be a good neighbor. You know, I look at the American Revolutionary War. France came to our aid. We didn't forget that. And yet somehow France at some point decided it was a good idea to get all American bases out of France. Folks, we better wake up. Europe, if you think you're going to be a stronger world power by seeing the decline of your strongest ally, both financially and militarily, and I would say even morally, if you think it's going to be to your betterment to see America grow weaker and you think you're going to go stronger, we'll see how that plays out for you. Canada, I don't know what the heck you're thinking. We could have such a strong, beautiful country. We could work together. There's things you're very good at and strong at and have the resources, and there's things that we're very good at and strong at and have the resources. We could work together to where it's benefiting greatly both countries. We could be so strong together. Same with Mexico. I just don't understand why it is that we have this division going up to the point now where America tolerated this. This hasn't been going on for a year or 2 year or 3 year or 4 year or 5 year. This has been going on almost my entire lifetime. And you see right now that America, who is the world's strongest military power, has the strongest economy in the world, has, for the most part, we have good morals. And yet you're willing to sit back and watch America become indebted and declining and struggling while you continue to... I'm just going to... I don't know what other word you scam America through trade when you could be helping America through trade. And it's not... I know it's not as black and white as this probably coming across. I want Canada to flourish. I want Mexico to... I have nothing against either country. Except for the fact, why did you stand by and let people invade our country, America, by using your country to do it? You could have put a stop to it. You could have stood up. It don't matter what Biden was saying or doing. You can see with your own eyes what was going on. You see America struggling right now to the point where our farmers, our people are selling our land to the highest bidder throughout the world because people are struggling so much. We've got, I don't even know what the number is anymore, over $40 trillion of national debt. And yet you continue to have products you won't even allow coming in your country. tariffs that are unreasonable. Instead of saying, you know what, we're going to help our allies, America. Look at what they have done for our countries and where they have helped out and where they have been. You know what? Every time there's a natural disaster, our military and our private citizens rush to those areas to help out. We have a long history of doing that. You know, and sadly, you know, everyone blames Trump and says he's a Russian asset. Folks, go back and do your history. You know who bailed out the USSR or Russia? It was under Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and Barack Obama. It's called the Russian Reset. Please, man, people, wake up. We could have a very strong NATO without antagonizing and provoking other countries. We don't need to build up missile systems in countries on borders and stuff like that. There's other ways to do things. We could be so strong again. We could be working to help each other and build each other up instead of, I don't even know what's going on right now. I do know this. The American people are tired. We're overwhelmed. We have debt that we can't even fathom. We see our country being invaded. We see our politicians have been compromised. And yeah, I'm going to say it. We have a lot of crooked politicians, folks. We really do. They're paid off through lobbying and through these countries. Whoever thinks that BlackRock controlling the ports on the Panama Canal on both sides, BlackRock. If you think that's a good long-term strategy, man, something's wrong. You are not paying attention. China sure shouldn't be controlling both. And how did that happen? After all we did for Panama, forget that it was more beneficial money-wise to go to China and stuff like that. Why didn't the Panama people come to America and say, this ain't working out, we need this, we need that, instead of going to our enemy and giving them a foothold into our part of the world? Who do you think it's going to be that will come one day to your defense when a communist country tries to take over your country? You think it's going to be Europe? You think it's going to be Canada? Mexico? Who in South America is going to stand up for you? Yeah, it's going to be America. So folks, I don't want to cause any more division. I have friends in Europe. My mom was born in Germany. She lived out of the fruits of World War II, being in Western Germany and having the wall between them and people that they knew and loved in Eastern Germany. She's seen what the devastation was like. All right. So my mom's German. I understand Europe. I've hunted, fished, traveled throughout Canada. I've met some super great people. And you know, I'm going to say this too. It's governments that cause the problem. I think most of the times, whether you're Italian, Spanish, German, Mexican, Canadian, all these different, the peoples, we get along. We want the same things. We want our families to have more than what we had. We want to be able to educate our kids and let them have a good life. We want our countries to flourish. We want peace. We want the same things. It's governments that cause all this turmoil. And then behind those governments, in my opinion, there is an evil influence in this world that is trying to escalate an agenda. And we see it's flowing out right before our very eyes. So Europe, try to look past the man, Donald Trump, and look at the heart of Donald Trump and what he's trying to do. He's trying to save America. And just, you can label me whatever you want to label me. I don't care. But if you can't see my heart that I love this country, I think this country stands for good for the most part. Not our government all the time, but the people. We're good. We're moral. We want good things in the world. We love people. If you can't see that in us, I hope you can. The same way I can look across Europe, same way I look across Canada, the same way I know people from Mexico, Brazil. I know people around this world. I even know people from some countries that we consider enemies. And I can tell you, for the most part, people have good hearts. Yeah, we all have evil in us and we all do things for our own selfish ambition and stuff. But basically, people are people and we want the same. We want to live in peace. We want to have the freedom to enjoy life and to better our kids' lives more than what we had. We don't want people to starve to death. We don't want disease. We don't want natural disasters. We don't want wars devastating people. We all want the same things. So I want you, please, have some sympathy for America. We're going through a rough period right now where we've had poor leadership for decades, Republican and Democrat. And we got a leader now that's trying to restore America and get rid of our national debt, build up our military, so that we can be a positive influence around the globe, not to push wars. We're tired of wars, as most people are. Have some sympathy for the American people. Talk to your government and say, why can't we open up trade with our best ally in the world? Why can't we make it more fair? Do you want to see America decline? I mean, really, is that what the world wants? Because if the world chooses it, that's what will happen. America will decline and will go our way like all civilizations do. And if you think you're going to be better off in that world, then I don't know what else to say. Anyway, long enough video. God bless the people of Ukraine. God bless the people of Russia. This war has had a big impact on both sides, and these are real people that have lost sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandchildren. These are real people that in all honesty, probably most of them think a lot like we do. They just want peace. They want the world to quit fighting so much and to get along more. God help us. Dave T1963 out.